I don't think running back is a priority for the Steelers at all. I think they've really kind of completely all but abandoned the running game. I mean, it's a passing league. They seem very comfortable with that, especially when Ben Roethlisberger's there.
Yeah, and I guess when you look at teams that win, like the New England Patriots, they never really had that premier feature running back.
No, they always kind of made do as a change of pace. I thought, when you think of the Patriots and that dynasty, you do not think of running backs.
No, you don't. I mean, I know they had Corey Dillon there for a little bit a while ago, but last year, I mean, the last couple of years, they did it with 3 different backs, Dion Lewis, James White, right, and a couple other ones mixed in there.
All those are serviceable players, but it's not built around them.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines. Let's go out to, where are we going? Let's go out to David out in the south side. What's up, David?
Yeah, thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
I just wanted to make the statement that whenever they drafted James Conner, I think they drafted him to give Bell a break every now and then. And then Le'Veon Bell got stuck on stupid, so he was left to be the feature back. But he has, I'm not questioning his heart or how hard he runs, but I just don't think he's built to be a feature back.
Well, you know what, David? I mean, he looked like a feature back through, 7, 8 games last year when he was leading the league in the NFL. And a lot of people around here forgot about Le'Veon Bell. I mean, he was drafted because he was the best running back available in the 3rd round when they drafted him. A hometown kid, knew a lot about the Steelers. The Steelers felt comfortable with him. Yes, it is a good story. Right now, maybe he can't, the type of runner he is, maybe he can't take that type of beating. He's not as big as Jerome Bettis or guys like that.
Well, no one's, as the caller suggests, is going to question James Conner's heart. I mean, he's overcome a lot, and we all know that story. I would not question his body either. I mean, he's a big guy. He's every bit as big as Le'Veon Bell. I just think he's unlucky when it comes to injuries. And there are, in the NFL today, there are a lot of unlucky people.
Yeah, and injuries. I mean, if you can't play, what good how are you helping the team? I think that's the big question. If you are one of the best running backs in the NFL, and maybe James could be one of the best running backs, but if he's only playing 7, 8 games, 9 games a year, then, how valuable is he?
Yeah, I mean, it's part of the equation. There are always going to be players who are not lucky with injuries. There are always going to be players who seem indestructible. And, eventually players fall into one category or another.
All right, let's go back out to the phone lines. We got Jim out in Ross Township. What's up, Jim?
How you doing, buddy?
Hey,
good,
Jim,
thanks for calling.
Hey, I wanted to ask you guys, did you notice in the Browns game, it was like all premeditated. I mean, there was hits to the head the whole game. Not kind of just the Garrett hit, the
right,
obvious one, but the whole game, it seemed like it was planned. It was premeditated. Did you guys get that feel?
Well, you know what? I think you have to have that feeling, especially after the game, that it was physical, that maybe this was premeditated. I mean, the hit on Deontay Johnson was I think was the worst.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, and Jim, thanks for your call. I think it was a really kind of hot contact game, like a Ravens game, if you will. But I don't think it was planned or premeditated. I just think that was the nature of the game as it developed. But that particular hit that Rich refers to, I thought was just terrible. Of course, it resulted in an ejection. But, that hit combined with the hits on Juju, there were 2 helmet-to-helmet hits on Juju that took him out of the game, suggested to me that no matter how strongly the league wants to stress the necessity to get these hits out of the game, at some point there's a disconnect. I'm not certain it's with coaches. I'm not alleging anything against coaches, but it doesn't look to me like players are being coached to avoid helmet-to-helmet contact. I know they want to because they want to stay in the game and those kind of things, but these egregious hits remain in the game, and it doesn't seem to be getting better to me.
Do you think it was maybe the fact that the Browns wanted to prove something, they wanted to leave their mark, or they wanted to be the bullies now? This is a series that the Steelers have dominated
they succeeded
over the years. I mean, I know we've talked about it at length, but that for what Myles Garrett did at the end. Not only the helmet thing, I mean, that's outrageous, but the fact that he drove Mason Rudolph to the ground when they were up by 14 points and there was 8 seconds to go, that just, I wouldn't even see, I don't even think you'd see that from Ray Lewis or the Ravens back in the day.
Oh, I think you would see it from Ray Lewis.
You would have seen it, you think?
Sure, absolutely. But, you know, as to the issue of whether this was planned, I just think that's the way that the game developed, and the Browns were only too happy, you know, to take it in that way. And, you know, if this was some kind of premeditation or something that they wanted to accomplish, they accomplished it. I mean, the Steelers got whipped there pretty badly.
All right, back out to the phone line. Let's go out to Bill out in Baldwin. What's up, Bill?
Hi, I listened to Mr. Tomlin's press conference the other day.
Yeah.
And nobody asked him why Mason Rudolph was in the game with 8 seconds left. I mean, there was no reason for that quarterback, for anybody to be in the game at that time.
Well, you know, look, I'll tell you what the answer would be. You know, I mean, he wouldn't have answered that question. He would have said he's our quarterback. You know, they're still out there. We're still trying to compete in this game. He would have given some answer along those lines. Now, you know, the big question is, you know, at that point in the game, why are you throwing a screen pass, too, I think. Well, so, I mean, you know, I understand it's about competing still, but you're down 14 points.
Well, you know, the reason that question was not asked is that all of the journalists there know the answer. This is the way Mike Tomlin does things. He rides the quarterback to the end of these games. You never see it. It's almost it almost never happens that a quarterback will come out of the game no matter how no matter how big the lead is. I agree that he should come out, but that's not the way they do it for whatever reason. And so that's why the question wasn't.
Yeah, and even if he comes out, what's that going to solve? It might have happened to Duck Dynasty. You know, it still might have happened at some point. I don't know if it was Mason Rudolph. I mean, he didn't say anything to provoke it. He said, we're going to have that interview coming up on KDKA News where he addressed the media today in a prepared statement. But, you know, it didn't sound like he did anything to incite this. Back out to the phone lines. Let's go out to Brian out in Indiana. What's up, Brian?
Hey, how's it going?
Good, thanks for calling.
I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on how you think Rudolph's going to come out and against the game against the Bengals. Do you think he's going to like have a big game where he's throwing 3 touchdowns, have a good passer rating, or if he's going to struggle or be good enough to get us a win?
Mm-hmm. I think he's going to be good enough to get a win. As getting 3 touchdowns, I don't even know who he has to throw to. None of these receivers have been getting separation. He doesn't often use the tight end as much as Ben would. Which I don't understand because I thought Vance McDonald would be a big part of this offense. But guys aren't getting open for him. So I can't completely blame Mason Rudolph.
No, I'm not blaming him. He's trying to learn how to play. He's only had, 6, 7 starts?
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to have a big game. I think he's years away from having a big game, frankly. He's got nobody to throw to, and he doesn't know how to find the people that, if they are open, and they're not, to throw to. I mean, the Steelers' passing game is really in a bad way, and no, I don't expect him to have a big game. Can they win the game? I think they can, but I don't expect it because of a big game from Mason Rudolph.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be because of a big game from Mason Rudolph. I think it'll be a big game from the defense. Another huge reason why Mason Rudolph is struggling and this passing game is struggling because they can't run the ball. They don't have a running back. I mean, James Conner had a 2-game stretch where he did well, but Jalen Samuels, he's obviously hasn't proven that he's the guy. He's the guy that I was kind of high on, too. I thought he could do more than a James Conner back there. Maybe Benny Snell might be able to provide some spark or something.
I mean,
Who knows?
I think you really have to keep it simple. See if you can run the ball. Try and insist on running the ball. Don't quit on it if 2 running plays in a row don't work. See if you can get something that way. Try to get probably need a defensive touchdown in this game, or of all things, a special teams touchdown. We haven't seen one of those in about 10 years.
Yeah.
But something like that would really help the Steelers.
And without Ryan Switzer, I don't know if you're going to see one back there.
Could be a while.
Yeah. All right. We're going to take a break. Back with more of your phone calls. Some of your tweets coming up next. Stay right there.